All right.
All right, here we are.
We are here. The Scotchy Bourbon Boys are here. Welcome to the YouTube Extra. We have Tim Johnson tonight. He is a Moonshiner, and he has been on Moonshiners Master Distiller.
All right.
Last December, we were talking. But what we want to do, we're going to break away from our normal kind of podcasts where what we normally do. We are going to dedicate this one to pretty much talking about moonshine. So welcome, Tim.
Welcome.
I'm Tiny Xavier.
Xavier. Nice to meet you.
Great.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yep. Hey, we need to pour ourselves some shine.
Yeah. Do you want to start? What do you want to start off of? Okay. So we got to
try some of the Nash special there, the Nash Garage Age special.
Yeah. Super Nash.
Been experimenting with that fast infusions, you know, if we can with the the woods and stuff.
Yeah.
And some of the spirals that they use for like in wine, and I put them in there, and it actually turned out pretty good. Quick aging.
Nicely done. Good job.
Yeah, this is tricky. I'm not used to pouring out of a mason jar. I'm just used to drinking out of it.
Yeah.
This stuff, actually, he has been working with his brother does a little bit more, and is teaching him in his, the garage. And he basically started off, and I think his first two batches that he did, I was able to get some, but he wasn't, it was just straight moonshine, sugar shine. And then the third batch he did, he put in a barrel and he left it just in his garage for, I believe, 4 months, but he was having so much problems with leakage. He lost a lot of it. So this time he did it in a smaller barrel, and he took it and he shoved it in the attic of his garage in the summertime. I think he did it in April.
And this is in South Carolina. So
we're
okay.
We're down at the Spirit of French Lick and talking to Alan, and he's talking about what he's doing, and Alan looks at him and he goes, "How long has it been in there?" And he goes, "It's been in there about 6 months." And because let's see, April, May, June, July, August, September. Yeah, 6 months. And he goes, "And you're in South Carolina?" He goes, that smaller barrel is really going to age that quicker because of the space. He goes, "You're probably at the level that you want to be at." So he pulled it and he sends some up to me. And this is like it. He pulled it for me at the perfect time, because what it pulled out of the barrel is like, this is like drinking brown sugar that's been burnt, but not burnt black, but almost to like a caramelizing aspect of the sugar. It's like right on the, yeah.
It pulls all the caramels out of that oak barrels. What it does,
but it's got just kind of like, when you make cinnamon toast and you put it in a toaster oven and you've almost left it in too long, where it starts to get a little crunchy and it's got that little bit of char taste,
Yeah.
But it doesn't, but it's not burnt where it's like you throw it away. It's like burnt where you love it. That's what he did to this whiskey. So I'm already on my second mason jar, because
it's really good whiskey. And
moonshine.
Well, actually kind of a hybrid if he's aging it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the color, but it's not clear.
But just the mash bill was sugar.
Right.
So it's
that's all he used with the sugar in that one there.
Yeah. This one in here is with the sugar. Now he's doing one right now at the moment where he took Buffalo Trace. He went all around the whole country buying up as much Buffalo Trace White Dog, and he's aging that in the 6-gallon barrel. I got to taste that when I was down in South Carolina. Now that's the whiskey. But when you have the sugar added in,
it's moonshine.
Yeah.
Right. Well, but this is kind of like a hybrid because he aged it and it drew the color. Right. I mean, traditionally, at least, not that I'm a moonshiner or anything, but I just happen to know that, moonshine's two things. It's got to be crystal clear like water. It's got to burn a blue flame. So when you see something brown,
Right.
This is something that's a little bit different. Not that it's any better or worse, but
it actually gives it, like you said, that caramely flavor to it, and it just makes it delicious. That's
this stuff is really good. We've paid a lot more.
It was aged in a barrel, but it's real lightly. Yep. This is really tasty though. You could slightly taste peaches, but the barrel is really you taste that barrel coming out of there.
So oaky. There's a distillery in, believe it or not, Wooster, Ohio. It's called Minglewood. And you're talking about exactly. So we this Saturday we did a Columbus thing where we went down, stopped off at Watershed, then we stopped off at Middle West, and then we're at High Bank. And then on the way home, my wife's like, there's a distillery in Wooster, and we go right by it. So I'm like, what the hell? We're gonna, we got 20. It was closing at 8:00 on a Saturday night, and it was 7:40 when we pulled in the parking lot. And they did this too, right here, this peach whiskey.
Oh yeah.
and it's flavored whiskey with natural flavoring. But I mean, how they did this is, because a lot of times the mainstream, the Fireballs and the Jim Beams and the Evan Williams flavored and the Wild Turkey flavored, it's very, what would you say, heavy on the sweet, almost like they're trying to get a certain kind of drinker of whiskey to drink whiskey, but they're not going after the person who enjoys whiskey already. You know what I'm saying? They're going after a different, a whole different market with the flavored whiskeys. Where this is something that when I tasted this, they had peach. They even had a pickle, which was the most unique thing I had. It was a pickle whiskey. Now, I don't like dill flavored rye, rye whiskey. If it's got a dill or a celery or that taste, I hate it.
Right.
But this pickle whiskey straight up tasted like how the what is it? The peanut butter whiskey. What's it called? Screwball. And then there's a squirrel one or whatever. But it's pure peanut butter. That was like drinking Screwball, but instead of it being peanut butter, it was pickle.
I've heard people talk about the pickle ones. I've never tried them yet.
Well, neither have I.
Put it this way.
I'm not a big fan of pickles. So
I can't eat them, but yeah.
I'm a fan of a good dill pickle with a sandwich. But like I said, if it's in a rye, I want to spit the rye out. I'm not looking for dill in that. But this was actually trying to be a pickle. So, I mean, it was very unique. But like you said. All right, so let's talk well, put it this way. Let's get going on the regular podcast. That's good for that couple minutes for the YouTube extra. I am going to start us out. And
all right, here we go.
Get it going.
Dant Crossing, Gethsemane, Kentucky. Timeless hospitality that stirs the spirit. Dant Crossing is a one-of-a-kind destination for unforgettable weddings, memorable corporate events, day trips, and weekend getaways. The pastoral campus is anchored by Log Still Distillery and includes an amphitheater that seats 2,000, a 12-acre lake for fishing and unique lodging options, creating an immersive experience that's rooted in the community and culture of our little slice of Kentucky. More attractions will open soon at Dant Crossing, including our 21,000 square foot distillery, which we will have the ability to produce 15,000 barrels of spirit each year, a network of wooded walking trails, fully functional private train depot, farm-to-table restaurant, and the Legacy, a premier wedding and events venue. Whether you're looking to host an event, book a stay, or reserve a tasting, we're ready to welcome you. Learn more at dantcrossing.com.
Spirits of French Lick is proud to introduce the Madi Gladden Bottled and Bond Bourbon. This 4-year aged bourbon is double pot distilled and non-chill filtered, and has a full-bodied mouthfeel with eucalyptus, molasses, clove, ginger, and slight citrus, as well as grains of paradise. The finish is long and reappearing on the back of the tongue with notes of pepper, tobacco leaf, and mint green. All of our spirits are available for tasting and purchase inside the French Lick Winery and Distillery. Spirits of French Lick. Respect the grain, please enjoy responsibly, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you, I tell you, I tell you we must die.
All right.
Here we go.
Welcome back to another exciting podcast of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. I here am Tiny. This is Xavier. Tonight we have a special guest, Tim Johnson. And we are the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Remember, you can see us on YouTube. You can listen to us on all podcast formats. Please do. And if you do, please subscribe. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and there's one other one. Oh, we're doing TikTok now. So believe it or not, it's like we're doing some crazy stuff on TikTok. Check us out there. But tonight, we have a different type of podcast than normal because we are going to be dealing with Tim Johnson, who is a moonshiner. Welcome, Tim. Great to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me. It's nice to be meeting you all.
Yeah,
Likewise.
great to meet you. Now, this is Tim's first podcast, although he was on Moonshiners Master Distiller back in December. So wonderful. One of the things we wanted to have him on is to talk about moonshine, but also talk about what it was like to do that experience. You know, what was that like?
It was very different. I just seen the article on Facebook about they were looking for moonshiners for the show. And I started writing down about a bunch of my family history. It goes back about 4 or 5 generations that skipped a generation. My last generation, my dad and mom never done it, but five generations back, it goes back where my family was moonshiners. I actually had a grandpa and a great grandpa was in prison for moonshining.
Oh my.
So
Okay.
one of the cool things that we've had on the show is that we have a lot of distillers that have opened up craft distilleries and support the moonshining aspect or started out moonshining. And a lot of them think that when you start out moonshining, you learn a lot about what you're trying to do as far as running the still, getting the flavor out, because a lot of times you're dealing with smaller batches. There's a lot of stuff you can do, but they have this theory or they support the fact that if you learn this way and it's somewhat on your own or somebody's teaching you that does it this way, that you really pick up a lot of tricks of the trade as far as maintaining flavor. So, they're definitely, when they hear, for instance, Bill Hockett, who now is at Dayton Barrel Works, he started out and he went down, I'm going to have a problem, but you would know the distiller Popcorn.
Popcorn Sutton.
Yep, Popcorn Sutton. Thank you, because just my brain always meant, I know that, but it wasn't happening. So thanks for the help. But he just called up Popcorn Sutton and said, "Hey, can you teach me how to do this?" And he went down there probably about 20 to 30 times, and he showed him how to moonshine.
Nice.
Then he ended up at Limestone Branch. Then he ended up here at Travassi, and now he's at Dayton Barrel Works. And each place he's just learned and gotten, and he just did it through that way. So, you know, talk about that right now and what you're thinking in your future plans. And then also one of the cool things is about that whole thing, what I was saying is that some of those distillers always pay homage to the state that they're in, because there's so many different, what would you say? There's so many different states and histories. It's not just Kentucky, you know, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Ohio. Distilling's been going on, like you said, in your family for five generations, you know, and then when you start to bring it back in the state of Ohio and you've been doing that, that's kind of something that you'd want to do, because not a lot of people think of Ohio and distilling, but we're starting to understand. There you are.
There you go.
We're starting to we're starting to understand that Ohio has a rich history in distilling, and it's just starting to come out.
Yep. So did you get all that?
Yeah,
You know where to start now?
Yeah, it's actually been in Ohio for just as long as anywhere else, really. But there's a place around the corner from me here. It's called Whiskeyville, Ohio. And the guy that owns the spring there told me his grandpa, when they tore his house down, they found mason jars shoved in his walls from the 1800s.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it was hid behind us. He must have had a hole in the wall when they would come. It was a hotel he owned. He must have reached down in the wall and grabbed a jar and sold it out the wall there.
Nice.
And it all stopped when he passed, right? And that's probably the stash that was there till the day till his last day on earth.
Oh yeah, he that's where I get my my spring water for my moonshine. It's Cherry Knoll Springs in Amherst. It's actually in Whiskeyville, Ohio. Is the name of the little town right there.
Say the town name again.
It's in Whiskeyville, Ohio. Is where the Cherry Knoll Spring is.
I see. Okay,
Where I
got
get my spring water.
Just already, you're talking about Whiskeyville, Ohio. Never heard of that, but I think I got to get there. Maybe even this weekend.
Yeah, like
Well,
how far?
the thing is,
an hour drive. We might as well do it tonight.
well, they don't call it Whiskeyville anymore. They named it. They call it South Amherst now. That's the thing.
I see.
Okay.
And there's a golf course there now that they actually named Whiskeyville Golf Course. But the racetrack that used to be a Whiskeyville racetrack there, and it's Lorain County Speedway now. But that's where I used to race at, is right there in that area. I used to race sprint cars.
Okay.
Nice.
I had a neighbor when I lived in Wisconsin who raced that type of vehicle. It was very interesting. There's a lot of mechanics that go into it on the weekend, isn't there?
Oh yeah, I would lose about 12 pounds in about 6 hours between getting the car ready and racing and getting back home, and I would lose like 12 pounds in a night.
Wow.
Yeah. And then all the work that you put into them, and then upgrading, and then going from, chain. Yeah, him and his son were completely into it. So
What are you racing? Drag?
And put me a moonshine still, and that's a little easier.
Way easier.
We racing dragsters? Is that what
No.
we're doing?
Circle track.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were going around a 3/8 mile track in 13 seconds in those cars.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about moonshine. So do you have a specific type that you make? I mean, do you have family recipes that you're a fifth generation? So do you have anything that was passed down that you're able to come across, or are you pretty much doing what you do?
Oh, I do my grandpa's. He did the malted corn and sugar, and I do that one all the time. But the one I do like a Scotchy hillbilly Scotch is what they called it on the show.
Okay.
Yeah, I was supposed to be they told me to make corn liquor, but I put a little touch of Ohio in there. I threw a little bit of smoked wheat in it. And the wheat, they called it hillbilly Scotch, but they called it on the show.
All right.
Right now, Scotch.
All right, just review that again because you locked up for a second.
We had some audio break up there. So just do that again, please.
Oh, then when I was on the show, they told me that I had a good hillbilly scotch on there. I took and when I made my liquor, they asked me to add a little touch of Ohio to it. So I put some smoked red wheat in there. And I
Okay.
did that the week over the flavor of the corn, and it tastes like a hillbilly scotch now.
Nice.
So how did you?
That's what I'm having here now.
Okay.
That,
How did you do on the show? I mean, for that episode.
I did good, but I didn't win.
Okay.
They more corn flavor out of it, and thanks to Rick Moonshiners, the one guy, his uncle had won the first show, and the other guy's cousin won the third show. So it was like I had some tough competition.
Yeah.
And there I was also Yankee.
Now, did you have to? Were you able to distill on your own equipment, or did you have to distill on their equipment?
No, we had to distill on their equipment. They had the first one set up for us. We had to make our own mash, and then we went back a week later, and we ran that mash through their the way they had the still set up. And then we had to go into their still room and do our own still. So they got parts on all over this. And I got to go in third, so I didn't have much to choose from. But by the time I was done, it took me 9 minutes to build my still, and it looked like a spaceship. and it ran good liquor too.
There
Good
you go.
deal.
So did you also do the same thing where you once when you went back for that time when you built your still, and then you had to pick and choose from what they had there? Like you went grocery shopping, like in some episodes?
Yeah, well, we didn't actually get to do that. We took our own ingredients with us
Okay.
because we just did a grain moonshine. And then if I would have made it to the very end, well, the second round I put some peach and I put some vanilla bean in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a little peach vanilla bean scotch, a little scotch there, and it actually tasted really good. But the judges were looking for more corn flavor, and I think that's what got me screwed over there.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, yeah, you did what you got to do, what you do, and got a little recognition. And I that's an invaluable experience, right? To all the people you meet.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know all the guys from the show, and I'm friends with them all on there. That's pretty neat.
Good deal.
Excellent. So we went down in December to Indiana and worked with the distiller, and he had a pot still that we ran with on a open fire, and then he basically had a gin, what's it called, the gin jar?
Basket, the
Yeah, the gin basket, yeah. And we put in initially on the first run, we put honeysuckle, we put cinnamon bark, there you go. Honeysuckle, cinnamon bark, and we put in also some orange dried orange cloves. And so when we did the first run, so he had distilled some neutral grain spirits. So what we did was we took those, put that in the still, then with the gin basket, we put those flavors in, and then ran that using the water from the creek that was behind us. So So when we did that, we did the water from the creek behind us. It was kind of cool. But then we did the second run, and they let us we tasted what came off the first run. So I felt that it was orange heavy. When it came out, it really had a orangey, clovey taste. So what I tried to do is put a lot more cinnamon in the next run, probably triple. Yeah. I put in triple because I know that but still it came out. It was amazing how strong the orange works, but the cinnamon just was barely touching it.
That's this right here, isn't it?
No, it's this right here.
Yeah, okay. Pour me a little.
Yeah.
Just
So like the cinnamon didn't come through as much as everything else. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah. The cinnamon, I doubled it and or tripled it. I think I put we initially put like 3 in, and I think I put like 9 in, and it still came out with an orange.
Good, thank you.
Huh.
But it was fun for the first time ever doing something like that. That was just a blast. I mean,
Oh yeah.
to pump water out of a creek. It's December. It was like the December 4th is the fall, so all the leaves were in the creek. The water looked like mud, but what was pumping out was clear, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I've never put the muddy water in mine.
Yeah, he pulled it out. Yeah, it just distilled right out. I mean, it came out, clear as can be, and he let everybody hang on to that. So
Now, Tim, what do you normally do? How do you normally do it? And maybe this is how all moonshiners do it. I don't know. At what point do you know that you've got the head off of the run and you're making good whiskey or good shot?
I usually take off about maybe a half a jar for the 4 shots, just get rid of the real bad stuff. And then the heads, I just kind of keep smelling it and tasting it until you start getting that good flavor, the good taste. And then I usually dump that back in my next run. I'd use the first couple jars, I'll throw them back in my next run and redistill them. But like I'll take the tails, I'll put them in the next run too. And I just keep everything in the middle, and that's your best. All your hearts is your best flavor right there, I think.
Okay, so basically though, your key element of knowing that this stuff isn't going to blind me is how it tastes and how it smells at this point.
Right.
Okay.
You know what? That's also a myth that you won't go blind from it.
well, you should not drink the heads. That's not going to be good.
No.
But I've talked to a couple distillers, and tell me if this is. Some of them say when they're distilling, there's always a little bit of a banana thing that happens right before the hearts start. That's what I heard.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it would all depend on what you're running. I do so many different things. I got a peach, not a peach, but it's a rum in the garage door, pecan.
Pecan, okay.
I was gonna throw some peaches in it when I run it, so it'll be like a peach pecan rum when it comes out. So
that sounds delicious.
Oh yeah, you got to taste the mash right now. It's like really, it's tasty. Well, I made it like pecan pie. Really, I just use the ingredients of the pecan pie to make the mash.
So also, like you said, you do the first run, you pull the heads off, and then you redo the hearts and the tails for the second run. So what's the actual heads now that you're going to pull off is going to be minimal, because you've already pulled off the majority of the bad stuff by running it through the second time.
Right. You run it through the second time, you ain't got to take the heads off or any of the 4 shots.
Right.
But I still do a little bit because I still smell it. So most of the time I only get a little bit.
Yeah.
And you just got to know.
And if you got a good nose and a good taste, you can definitely taste what's going on,
Well, yeah. I mean, when you realize what's in those flavors that are up there, that one, the tails are all about, they're not poisonous, but it's all about the bitter flavor left in the bottom of the run. So, that's the part that, you know how far to go before
Yeah, you can see when you get to your tails, you start seeing like an oily look to when it's dripping in, and then you'll see the cloudiness start coming in through the jar, and it tastes horrible.
Right. And you want that. So if you want to make good moonshine, you don't want the horrible taste in there. Although some people like to leave a little bit of this or a little bit of that. There's no doubt about it, to add uniqueness.
Yeah, there's in your early tails and your late heads, there's some good flavors in there too. So some people will add a little bit of that in there just to get a little more flavor to it. But I don't do that. I just get rid of it, use the high proof for cleaners sometimes, and some hand sanitizers.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Everybody talks about switching over to do hand sanitizer. It just means you're just basically running you just keep rerunning the hearts and the tails, and then using the the front. And the heads more.
Well, the thumper, when I got my thumper, when if I run it good and slow, I can get it out at 155, 160 proof right off the first run.
Oh, excellent.
But if I don't use the thumper, it comes off about 120, 125, 130, somewhere in there. So, but you get more flavor too through the first distillation that way.
So explain to our podcast listeners and YouTube viewers exactly what the thumper does on the still.
Well, the thumper is almost like a secondary still, because once it starts steaming, it goes back down in. And some people, you could put fruits in there. You could put some of your mash in there from the first run. You could throw in different flavors and it will redistill. It'll start as a second thumper or a second still compared is what it is before it goes through the worm. So you can add spices, you can add fruits in there, you can add grains in there, you can add a turd in there. It doesn't matter. It's going to come out tasty what you put in.
So how is that different than the botanical basket that we had on the still in Indiana?
Well, the botanical baskets are mostly used for spices.
Okay.
So that it's like they just
it's lets it run through. I see. Whereas the thumper is a contained unit. Got it.
Yeah, if you just put water in your thumper, it'll strip out even your liquor, but it'll also strip out the flavor too. So the thumper does a lot of stripping. It's like double distilling right there from that point on.
It's not a set. It's not, you're basically including, it's a thumper because it's included in the process. It goes out, down, condenses right back up into steam, and then condenses, and that's when you collect. Whereas when you're doing a lot of time now, what is that compared to the doubler? Is it the same? Is it just another name then?
Yeah, that's just another name for it.
Okay. So
interesting.
But you can add your spices in there. You can add, I got a fruit port in mine where I could add whole apples in there if I needed to, it's just, but you can you can add fruit to the still, and then you can add it to your thumper, and then you're going to get a lot of apple flavors. Like if you use apples or something like that, you get a lot of flavor towards the end that way.
Without giving away a trade secret or a family secret, as compared to the amount of volume that you're distilling, what percentage is the thumper? Is it 10%, 20%, or 1%?
I think everything goes through the thumper. It's going through, and then you're collecting it.
Right.
Correct?
But as far as you're going to start out with a quantity of something in there is what I'm saying.
You'll actually you only want to fill your thumper about 1/3 of the way. Is if you can put too thick of stuff in there, you can back your still up and blow your still up.
Okay.
So what you want to do is just put it. Yep. So you just want to put a little bit in the bottom where it starts bubbling, and then once you get in it, it'll actually fill up halfway sometimes from pulling the water through the first distillation. Going through your thumper would be your second distillation.
Yeah.
So you're pulling water out, so it's separating more of that. Then you could actually hang a basket in there with botanicals in it if you want.
Internal to, yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
But you probably lose about maybe 10% of that doing that like that, but you're getting higher proof liquor.
And typically and moonshine, where are you at by the time it goes into the mason jar, what proof are you normally at? You meaning you in general, not necessarily you personally.
I always put it in the mason jar about 100, between 100 and 110. It depends what I'm drinking, if it's rum or if it's just corn liquor. But I usually like the corn liquor because it gets that real sweet flavor right about 100. So that's where I usually keep my corn.
Right.
But there's so many different types of corn out there that you get different flavors, and in the different waters, you actually get different flavors using different waters.
Yeah. What's the most unique shine you made? What was something you made that was like, you said to yourself, holy crap, this is good. And it was surprising.
Everybody else said it too. Watermelon.
No, you're right.
Okay.
And I also got another one I do. It's done with bison grass, but it's kind of like my secret.
Bison grass?
Oh yeah. It's everybody when I was filming down there, that was like everybody's go-to. Let me have another drink of that bison grass.
All right.
And
So all it is, it's kind of get this earthy vanilla notes to it. It's just a piece of grass you stick down in, and it's really delicious. You can look it up and read about it. There's actually a bison grass vodka out there that it was outlawed in the United States at one point.
really? Wow.
Yeah, supposedly it was causing hallucinations or something like that.
Oh, that's what they said about absinthe too. Okay.
Yeah, but what it is, it tastes so good they're drinking so much. That's why they're hallucinating.
I'll tell you what, you just take any higher proof alcohol, you drink enough of it, like the old jokes, purple, pink elephants and purple giraffes, you're gonna hallucinate.
Yep, that's for sure.
All right. So you're distilling. Now, we were talking a little bit earlier. You're thinking about opening up a small craft distillery. Talk about that a little bit, your plans.
Well, there's no distilleries around my area here. So, I mean, within 30, 40 miles, there's nothing. So I just been wanting to do it for years. And then after the show, everybody's telling me I should open a distillery. So we've been kind of looking into the license and where we would do it. And they got actually a license where you can distill at home. And it's not that much, but you can only sell 3 bottles at a time to each customer. And they can't drink them on your premises. They got to take it and leave. It's just that's the small craft distillery. But then there's another license where they can drink it there and you can, serve them and stuff like that. It just keeps going up, more license and
More money and all that stuff.
more tax.
Well,
they tax you by the mash. They don't tax you by how much liquor comes out of there. They tax you by your mash bill.
Well,
okay.
that makes sense, because in any other manufacturing process, your inventory is taxed. So that's
right.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh, they nail you. That's the whole thing. It's just like where they're nailing you, whether it's on the bottle sale or if you decide that if you're going to run some whiskey and age a little bit of whiskey, they nail you on that. I mean, they just come up with everything. There's no doubt about it. There's a state of Ohio and the federal, you
got a federal license too. And
it's
tobacco, Bureau of Alcohol,
and
Firearms.
Alcohol,
tobacco, and firearms.
Say that 10 times, quick.
From what I understand from the legal distillers in Ohio, they tell me you get about 1/3 of what you got into it back.
Mm-hmm. Which is
everybody else gets 2/3 of it, and you get 1/3 of it.
But in the end, it's still probably a halfway decent amount.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If you got a big still, I ain't got a real big still, so I only do little batches at a time. But when I do open one, I want to get at least 120 gallons still to start with.
Yeah, you would look at a nice pot still, right? You do a pot still.
The one I got now, I built myself, and I just ordered a copper and kind of made it out of cardboard and bought me some silver solder, and I just put it all together as a cardboard copy. And then I took it all, laid it out on this pattern.
So, for example, going back to my other question, because I'm a little slow to catch on.
Okay.
You got 120 gallon pot still. How many gallon capacity is your thumper going to be?
Usually they want you to be about 1/4 of your thumper size or 1/3 of your still size. So you want a big thumper for a big still.
So if 120 gallons, you're going to have 30 to 40 gallon thumper. Okay.
Well, my 25 gallon thumper has a 5 gallon, or still has a 5 gallon thumper. It goes with.
That's 20%. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm just doing some commercial right now.
I was drinking that last night.
What you got there, big guy?
Sugarland Shine.
Just a tiny step. It's good.
Look at it.
You nailed it.
There you go.
Yeah. I got it by the case.
There you go.
Yeah, we were just there 2 weeks ago.
I actually picked this up in Wisconsin. My mother-in-law lives in right outside of Cedarburg, and in Cedarburg they actually have a distillery, and they also have a moonshine shop where everything they sell in there is just moonshine. So we went up there, and usually I hit the distillery, and I'll always stop by and pick some moonshine up. They got the little jars, which I like because that allows me to, get all the different flavors.
Oh yeah. I was lucky when I went in there. They gave me was it 30% off everything in the store? So I just 50% off because I was on the show.
Well, this one, which I believe is just the sugar shine.
This tastes like a hot roll with honey on it.
This is actually Digger's Rye Apple Moonshine. There's a little bit of apple there, which you're picking up.
Oh yeah, I got some of that too here somewhere.
I mean, but I like the aspect that it picks up that apple, but it also picks up a little bit of corn. You know what I mean?
Yep.
To me, it tastes like honey on a hot roll.
Can you read what this one is?
Peanut butter and jelly. All right. I was raised on peanut butter and jelly. I mean, as in the real sandwich.
Yeah.
No.
You know what? I didn't really much.
I was
care
actually
for it.
raised on the peanut butter jelly moonshine.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom was killing brain cells when I was like 4. Yeah. I mean, all right. So you're looking into it. You're up there in Vermilion. It's Vermilion, right? But you're also close to, well, as we were talking, Whiskeyville, correct? You got to be. How close are you to that?
About maybe 10 miles away from there.
I think that's where when you do your actual distillery, you should set it up in Whiskeyville and then make them rename the town Whiskeyville. Just basically, have that experience where everybody comes, where everybody's going to be like, what are you talking about? This is Whiskeyville.
That'd be great. Well, actually, I thought about going up and talking to the golf course up there. They got a couple extra buildings just sitting there kind of empty. It'd be a perfect spot.
Yeah, it would. Although
that's where you'd have to have the license for people to taste, so all the golfers could circulate through. Then they could buy a flask to take out with them.
And then you got the racetrack right next door to it, so everybody can come over after they get done racing.
After, that's the key word.
Well, but just like I think that is a good dynamic, because if the Neely family distillery, Royce Neely and his wife Rebecca, their distillery is right across the street to the entrance to the Kentucky Speedway.
It's a 9-iron shot.
You see this, you're at the distillery sitting out on the little patio for the whatever, and you look out the window, and you're on the patio, you're looking right at the Kentucky Speedway sign.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I did they built that track like out in the middle of nowhere at first, I think.
Well, it is in the middle of nowhere, but now the Neely family distillery is right across the street. So you race and then you go to the distillery.
And if you get a chance to visit them, they will literally roll out the red carpet for you. You are not going to find more hospitable folks who are really, really glad to see you. I mean, they're very proud of their facility, but they're very happy you're there to see them. Really, really good experience if you get a chance.
Yeah, I got some family up there. I want to try getting up there and visiting some distilleries in that area this year. I'll stop in and see them too.
Okay.
Yep.
That's wonderful. So, overall, so you've been doing the distilling. You got your, you're doing your grandpa's recipe, and you're thinking, overall, you're thinking about what you can do to bring back the history of distilling in Ohio, because honestly, like you said, it's always been here, but at the same time, it's really, when people think of distilling, they're not really thinking of Ohio as far as the history of this country. And, that's kind of, the distillers that are doing this now, that's kind of on them to, help bring that back, because, whiskey and distilling has always been a part of this country from the beginning.
Oh yeah. I actually had a couple people when I was on the show say, "What's a person from Ohio doing on this show?" So I said, "Hey, there's more moonshiners in Ohio than you all know about."
It's true. I mean, Tennessee, Kentucky, what would you say?
We're the 18th state that entered the Union. There's Vermont, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Ohio. So if they came in after Ohio, tell them to have a seat. That's all you got to say.
But what I want to say is that's kind of like the textbook, history. And at first, when Kentucky was bringing that back, when they were doing what they're doing as far as distilling and everything, and playing up that aspect, they weren't the textbook part of history. And now then they kind of, like everybody knows, like probably about 90 to 92% of all bourbons made in Kentucky. But then the other, it was 95. Now it's being cut down by the rest of the country. But the rest of the country kind of is following suit. And that's exciting. It's just like to be able to meet you and talk to you about this and know you have a family history in Ohio is kind of exciting to me, because it's just not mainstream when you think of distilling. But as you bring that back, it kind of will bring back how this all works. I mean, it's the whole Midwest, during Prohibition was distilled moonshining.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to the lady here in town, and she said her grandma and grandpa owned the restaurant in town here, and that's where they'd come in from Canada. The bootlegger ships would come in and unload at her grandma's restaurant there, right in the river in Vermilion here.
Nice.
It was
right up there. You got a lot of whiskey coming down from Canada, right? Is that
Oh yeah,
yeah.
You got here at McGarvey's restaurant. It was here in Vermilion. Is a famous restaurant. It used to be here.
No,
but Eddie Solomon owned it. But that was the place where they used to bring in all the liquor in from Canada. So it's been around for a while here in Ohio.
Well, it's been around forever. Even when Prohibition was around, it was still around. It's always been around. It's the natural way, one, to turn a grain into a more manageable, profitable form of income. It's just like the amount of corn it takes to distill, gallons of whiskey is a massive amount of corn, and you turn it into 50, 60 jars, mason jars, and now that massive amount that was filling up a silo is now just filling up the desktop in the barn. So and that was just a smart thing. And then to ship it, when they were shipping it down the Mississippi down to New Orleans and everything, that was a lot easier than trying to ship corn. I mean, 5 months on a barge the corn would have rotted and got, infested.
For the nobody cares department, I was off by one. We're the 17th state to enter the Union. I quickly added Vermont, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Ohio to 13 and realized that didn't equal 18. So I just fact checked myself. We're the 17th state. So my point being is, if they're from these other states and knocking us about what are you doing here, they got nothing to say.
Right.
Exactly.
When I make my corn liquor, I use 2 pounds of corn to 2.5 pounds of corn per gallon of water. So it takes quite a bit of corn to do that.
And
yeah.
Now, are you sugaring that too?
No, when I sugar it, I'll cut it back to about 1 pound, and then I'll use 1 pound of sugar per 1 pound of corn per gallon.
So let's just say you do a mash. How many gallons is your mash?
I usually do a 30-gallon mash is what I use.
Okay.
And what does that yield as far as finished liquor?
Usually you get back about, I don't know, 2.5 to 3 gallons of good liquor
So
out of it.
let's
Wow,
just
10
say
to 1.
30 to 3. And then for that 30 gallons of mash, how much corn are you looking at if you're making a corn? 2 pounds to every gallon.
Yeah.
So you're looking at
2 to 2.5 pounds
so
every
60
gallon, he said. But
so
if you're doing sugared stuff, it's 1 pound of corn and 1 pound
yeah,
of sugar.
but
Yeah, then you'll get higher alcohol yield with using sugar.
Right.
You don't high with using just corn only. You get
Right.
less volume.
right, because but then it's all about taste. You know?
Right. You get that little fiery taste when you use the sugar in the back, you know, when you take a drink of it.
Yeah. And it's just the yeast, how the yeast handles processed sugar opposed to the sugars in the grain sugars is a way different, totally different process.
Good point. Good point.
I did a 5 malted grain the other day, and I used 5 different malted grains, and it turned out really good.
Sounds good.
How long does your mash usually, do you let your mash, how many hours is it till it's ready from start to finish?
Well, usually I let it sit 7 to 14 days, but in the wintertime, sometimes you got to let it sit a month because that just don't want to go too quick in the wintertime unless you got a heated room.
Yeah.
And
I was talking to a distiller out in California, and he is part of the family that came over on the Mayflower. So he has had access to their manifest because his 15th removed grandpa was actually was the governor of Massachusetts.
wow.
Their first,
Wow. I wonder if it was like Cotton Mather, Increase Mather. Seriously.
Their first mash, which they used natural yeast fermentation, took 8 months before the yeast got there and did its thing so that the fermentation worked properly.
Wow.
When he naturally ferments, he says it takes about 30 days. So, like you said.
Yeah, it's like this winter, I did a couple batches this winter, and I was getting frustrated because it wouldn't warm up. So I put me a little heater out there. And so I dropped the fish tank heater down inside of the mash. And I went out there one day and there's mash all over my garage floor.
Wow.
It burned holes through the bottom of my barrel.
Oh
my goodness. Hey,
yeah,
it
didn't heat the mash. It's just
when you got all this water in this mash, you're waiting for it to ferment
70 degrees is what you're looking
70
for. Yeah,
degrees, but
ideal.
But at that point, does 100% of that pot get distilled, or do you drain off any of the water or not? You can't, because you'd be losing alcohol that was produced.
Right. I won't even drain my grain sometimes because I don't want to get anything dirty in my still. I just try keeping it all my clear liquids going in. And then I'll take in, let it sit for a while. I'll put it out, then I'll let it settle, and I'll put some more, I'll save it for a next batch. Is what I do once I drain it, because you get a lot of, say, if you put 25 pounds of corn in there, 5 gallons is going to get soaked up into the corn.
Yeah.
So you got 5 gallons right there off the top. So usually like on a corn sugar run, you get about 4 to 5 gallons out of a 25 gallon still. It's usually like a 14% return, 12 to 14% return on it.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, I think
Good information.
Yeah, you answered some good questions. So anyways, what at this point, if there's anything you want to say to promote yourself, or where someone can find what you're doing, or this is where we give you your shot.
Well, if anybody wants to talk to me about it, I'm on Facebook. You can look me up on there, and Instagram. under Tim Johnson. And just keep an eye out on there. See if I open me a small craft distillery soon. Hopefully I could be getting it out there to the public where they can try it. And I'm also talking to a couple distilleries right now. And possibly they might want to put my hillbilly scotch on their shelf. So we'll see
That'd
what
be
happens.
awesome.
Yeah, so we'll see. I got 2 different distilleries I've been talking to about it. And one of them wants to do the peach vanilla that I did on the show. And the other one wants to do the hillbilly scotch. So we'll see.
So would you go down there and distill with them off their equipment, or would you just supply it to them?
I think I would want to supply all my grain and stuff if I do it, and go down and make the mash at least. They can
Okay,
run it
right down there. Okay.
They probably want to be able to produce it in the capacity that they have, though, I would think.
Right. Yeah.
Where are you sourcing your grains from? Ohio?
Yeah, there's a place in I get it from local farmers. A lot of the fruits and the grains from local farmers, but all my malted grain, I get it from Haas Malts out in Cleveland. It's over on the east side of Cleveland. It's Haus, Haas, but they got all the exotic grains and any kind of malted stuff you want. They supply all the breweries around here, and the guy Andrew that works there and owns the place, him and his dad run it, but he's a very knowledgeable guy. You can sit and talk to him about what grains work well with one grain. And if you ever get around there in that area, look up Haas Malts and go talk to him. It's very interesting. He'll
Nice.
take you for a tour through his shop and everything.
I will definitely. That's a great idea. A good idea for a show. That's for sure. For another podcast.
Well,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm trying to get him to join the Moonshiners show. So they're supposed to send him an application. I don't know if they did.
All right.
All right. Well, Tim, thank you so much for your
All right.
time and your insight. This was a great podcast.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for having me. It's nice to meet you guys.
it was
Likewise.
great to meet
Maybe
you.
we can do
Hopefully,
it.
I mean, you're so close. We'll have to get
We'll have to
together
link up,
and
that's for sure.
have a pour coming up.
Oh yeah, for
sure.
sure. I'm retired, so I'm here all the time.
Okay.
And I'm trying to get retired.
I just wish I was retired.
Well, 33 years at Ford, I couldn't do it anymore. I had to get out of there.
I
Well,
could
I'd say
see
you
that.
earned it.
Yeah,
Well-
tonight I would say that I've been tired and then retired.
There you go.
Twice
Yeah,
tired.
Me too. I finished up work, and I started at 8 this morning. I finished up work at about 10 minutes till 8 tonight.
Let's put a
So
little
it's
bit of
like-
white dog in our glass.
I can relate. So, you know, I wish if I would work a 40-hour week, I'd feel like I was semi-retired.
Yeah, I was working 50, 60 hours a week. I just couldn't do it anymore.
I understand. Just between what's been happening with the podcast, you still have some of your.
I want the
You want the white dog?
Yeah, I do. Whoop,
All right.
I just launched it.
All right. Hey, cheers, you guys.
Cheers, and cheers to everybody out there. We're drinking tonight with our little Scotchy Bourbon Boy Glen Cairns. You can check those out on the website. But remember, everybody, www.scotchybourbonboys.com. Check us out. Check out the website. All of us are on there. This Friday night is going to be Whiskey Live. We are tasting Green River bourbon, a bourbon that's just been released. We'll be doing that tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time live. And then also remember to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And remember, everybody, good whiskey, moonshine, equals good times, good friends. Go out there and live your life dangerously.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. Nice meeting you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. See everybody later. Bye.
Yep. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
We lost them.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh,
I don't think it
don't
was
ask
clear to
why.
him that when we said goodbye,
Show
we really
me
weren't
the
done.
way to the
What was that? All right. we're gonna try that again.
Next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar,
That's not
I
my
tell you we must
I know.
die. I tell you we must
I
die.
put into that
I
first.
tell you, I tell you, I tell you we must die.
Oh, okay. So we're done with that part of it. We're by ourselves for
We're
the
by
fun.
ourselves.
It's like funny because with Tim, it's the first guest I ever explained kind of the whole format exactly, that we would finish up and then we would be on the YouTube part, and then once again we could talk a little bit about it, and then but then it's funny, it's just like he was.
You get in the mode of saying goodbye and thanking everybody that he just.
No, I understand, but everybody else in the past,
maybe we weren't as clear. Maybe we should have said when we hang up from the podcast, don't disconnect.
We could go back, and I've done this. I've done this 100 times and never explained it, and no one's ever hung up right away. And this time I finally explained it. And the first thing, what does
that say for your explanation?
Yeah, this just shows I don't know what it says for my explanation. Fuck you, Xavier. That's all I gotta say to that. No, I just find that unique. Not that it's bad that Tim did it and he doesn't have to.
No, not at all.
This is the part. Let's just call this Moonshine. I mean, it's just like
maybe there's a reason he did it.
Maybe there's just a reason.
Like, these two guys are idiots. I don't want to talk with them anymore.
Or he might have had to go. Maybe he had to go to the bathroom.
There you go.
There we go. We're right off of that. Anyways, everybody, Tim was awesome. I think that our first ever
great guy.
We got a little bit into detail of distilling and what it takes here in Ohio, where
in Ohio, exactly
2 years ago, when I started, or we started 2.5 years ago,
right?
How did we even think? Did you even think there were moonshiners in Ohio? We didn't really think about that.
No, we didn't.
We weren't thinking about that. And then when you find out about you always knew from the show Moonshiners that in Tennessee, Kentucky area there was moonshiners, and then you learn about the whiskey tax and the whiskey war, and the farmers weren't, you learn all that stuff, and then you realize it was in Pennsylvania too, but you just never really put Ohio down there, you know what I mean, in your brain. And then as we keep going, we just keep learning so much more. I mean, distilling in Ohio is on fucking fire.
Yeah,
I mean, you've got some distilleries that have been around 10 years, Middle West and Watershed, and they are starting to release some products, aged well whiskeys that are absolutely delicious. And then you got High Bank coming into it, and they're starting, and they're fairly new. But as you just keep going through this, these distilleries coming online and participating, it's just been freaking awesome, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, sure has been.
All right, so everybody, another great podcast, and look for us the next time. But tomorrow night, Friday night, is the whiskey live tasting of Green River. I believe whiskey's going to be here. I'm not sure if you're making it, but hopefully you are. Maybe at first, some reason I thought my wife wasn't going to be here, but she is. She was talking.
Right, so
she was talking about May, not April. I'm just like, what's going on? All right. So everybody, remember, again, go out there, enjoy your life, enjoy whatever you're drinking, and live dangerously.
Thanks for joining us.
The Watershed Story. A watershed moment might be pivotal, but it might also be quiet and fleeting. It could be a monumentous occasion, a cause for celebration, an enormous triumph, or a small daily victory. A watershed moment could be a rekindling or an observation or a gathering. Any opportunity to relish with friends and family. It's whatever you choose to cheers to. Who you're gathered around and whatever's worth celebrating. We founded Watershed Distillery on the principles of community in 2010. We wanted to live in, work in, and contribute to the community in which we grew up. We aimed to create spirits and stood apart in quality and character. Along the way, we set out to form a community of our own, one that could gather together to savor, celebrate, and enjoy good spirits and company. We've grown from a tiny little still and 2 guys in jumpsuits to a dedicated team of over 40 people and 2 much larger stills. If you're ever in the area, stop by so we can introduce you to our team and pour you some of our award-winning bourbon. Creating it was our watershed moment, but we want to hear about yours.